Hey everyone, Julian here. Today I'm showing you how Fred again makes his awesome Future Garage bangers. As usual, you can get the full project files, samples, MIDI, presets. This entire super packed, high quality template that you heard in the intro is available at the top of the description. The full Ableton files, samples, MIDI, and the presets. Definitely go grab that for just $5. It's a really high quality, accessible template that you can grab right now. Support yourself making the best music of your life. I promise if you grab this, your Future Garage tracks are going to sound a lot better instantly. Link is at the top of the description. Thank you so much for the support, everybody. You can also support me by grabbing a lesson or a track finishing or ghost production. The link for that is at the top of the description. And let's dive into the video. Alright, so we're at 135 BPM. First thing we got up here is this FM 808. So what's happening here is it's following the chord progression first of all. So the chords here are C minor, D sharp major, G sharp minor, G sharp major, and then this F minor. So we're going root note, minor third, sixth, fourth. And then what's happening is we're kind of creating a rhythm with those because this bass is so punchy. You hear it creates this really nice groove against like the kick and the snare. And what that comes from is really just this like quarter note rhythm, like this don don, and then throwing in a few 16th notes, like how it's like don 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 don, like that. And also these glides here where it'll just slide down at the end of the bar or like in the middle of the bar, it'll slide up or down. And yeah, and the other thing with this is really like the chord progression of the track. If you listen to the rest of the synths, there's really nothing else that's establishing this chord progression. Right, so it kind of like keeps that moving through the track. Now, for the actual sound, it's made with operator, and what it is it's a triangle wave with a tiny bit of FM from a sine wave. We have a low pass filter with on the MS2 setting with the filter drive up, and then we have a pitch envelope where you can see I'm using this attack, but by putting the initial up at 48, it just creates this like longer punch basically. Now I just want to show you if I turn off the filter. See, we have this sound. And the filter makes it a bit deeper, but also a lot fatter with a little bit of an envelope and then that filter drive. And then after this, we're adding the saturator on the medium curve, which makes it even more full. Then we have this EQ cutting the sub at 43 Hertz. So this actually makes a big difference because this track is so full. If you don't do this, it gets really crunchy. And then if we turn it on, it just cleans up the whole mix a bit because this isn't adding all those like really deep sub frequencies that you really couldn't even hear, but would just make it really messy. Then we've got this utility converting it to mono after the EQ because sometimes that can mess the phase up. And then we're sidechaining this to the kick. So then we have the Fred again vocal lead. Now, again, we're in the key of C minor here, but you'll notice this is starting on G, right? So what it's doing is it's playing these long held out notes. If I turn off this gate, right, it's playing these long held out notes. It starts on the 5th, then we go up to the minor 3rd, the 9th, and then down to the root note. So it's almost like playing with that resolution because you're not just hitting with the C right away, even though obviously the chord progression establishes that we're in C minor. And then also it's kind of like a call and response where this first bar starts with the 5th and then it goes to the 6th there, right? So then for the actual sound on this one, what it's doing is I'm using this chromatic voice patch. So this is actually from one of these Ableton packs that you have. If you have if you have Ableton Live Suite, it comes with this voice box over here. And I'm using this one of these racks here where it's just like a voice that you can play chromatically. Right? So we got that. And then we're using a bit of overdrive. It just makes it a bit more like kind of sparkly in the mids and highs. It's a good way to kind of beef that up. And then we're using this gate. And what's happening is we're sidechaining the gate. So what happens when you sidechain a gate is every time you play a note on the thing that you have the audio that you're sidechaining it to, you hear the thing that you're sidechaining, right? So what we're doing down here is we got this gate. It's just a little bit of white noise in operator with a really short release. And see, it's playing that rhythm. And then when you sidechain this to that, there you go. Now it's not just that, it's also the notes that are being played, because like if I have that going, and see, if I play too many notes, it just gets really messy. So that's why we have those long held out notes. It's like, it really allows you to hear the rhythm. So it's that working together with the gate. And then another thing here is you want to make sure you turn on the return. It's going to make it a lot cleaner. Then we have a bit of delay, a bit of hybrid reverb as well. And then a high pass at the end to make it just kind of not get in the way of the bass. Then we have this lead pad. So MIDI wise, it's really simple. It's just 4 notes. It's just kind of adding almost like a counter melody. It goes really well in this key. And also if you're arranging the track, this would give you something to kind of play with. Like you could have one part maybe where it's like these two. And then when you get tired of the vocal lead, you can come into this. So, as far as notes wise, again, we're in C minor. We're using root note, 6th, 5th, and then the minor 7th. Which you can see walks really nicely back up to that root note. But the actual sound, so I'll turn off this and I'll just show you. It's this patch in wavetable. We're using one wavetable, just this modern sweep. And what's happening is I've got an envelope on the oscillator position. We're using shimmer unison, and then I have this pitch envelope. So if I turn that off, see, it's like a really basic kind of transy sound, but when you add that, it adds this nice little like pitch bend. What we're doing is we've got the envelope going like this really short attack, and it's like a really tiny envelope too. Like there's not really that much of it happening, because if you do too much of this, it becomes like that. And if you make this too tall, same thing. So this is really tiny envelope, but that little attack is like a great way to really bring this to life and, make it not just like a basic kind of saw or square wave unison sound, but something a bit more futuristic. And then the other thing we have that's helping with that is the spectral time. So this is one of these really cool new devices from Ableton 11 where, we're using this and it's basically like a delay. But it's like very granular. And I'm using the spray here to make it like just kind of this crazy texture. And it's a really great way to add some texture to a sound like this. Then we have the Overmono lead. Now, this might seem complicated. This is kind of based on like that Overmono sort of lead you've heard in some of their tracks. What's happening here is it's just following the same chord progression I showed you with the bass line, right? You can see C minor, D sharp major, G sharp major, F minor, right? Root, minor third, 6th, 4th. Then what's happening up here is these top notes are just, if you were looking at these as like basic chords, they're just the thirds. So like every chord like is really like the most basic chord is like root note, 3rd, 5th, right? So we're just using those, and then it's an octave apart, and we're going no like that, and it creates this really sick, rhythmic, but also very melodic sort of lead. these notes where it moves here, so that's just like the ninth, which is kind of like a fancy way of saying one note down from the third. Same thing here. Although it's really, if you're looking at this as C minor, it's the fifth and the sixth, right? But like with this chord, right? Over here, this is the same things you're seeing up here, just an octave down. So it's actually pretty simple when you break it down like that. Now, for the actual sound, it's made with wavetable. It's a saw wave with a bit of pulse width to kind of like just, again, do something to make it not just that basic saw wave anymore. We got a low pass filter with a bit of an envelope on it, a bit of chorus, a bit of reverb, and then this amp, which is being blended. But here's without that. You can see it's really flat, and then you add it. And it just gives you a great texture, especially after the reverb. It can really bring that to life, too. Then we have this pad. So this is just playing a chord progression. It's not following the main progression, right? It's kind of just notes in the same key that are going to fit. And if you look at this, it's actually kind of like, it sort of is following that. Because like, for example, this is just a C minor inverted. If you look at it, what is it? It's C, D sharp, and G. Root, third, fifth, right? But I have the third up an octave, and I put the fifth down. So it becomes this crazy, like that. Here we have this, it's like G sharp, D sharp, and then a G, so kind of almost like a major seventh. But again, it's just as long as you put together notes that are in that same scale and try to make them have a bit of relation to each other, like the way this is going in the root like that, you know? Just really like creating this almost like counter melody chord progression. So we've got that, and for the actual sound on this, it's made using this complex transformations wavetable, and then a square wave with a bit of pulse width. We've got a low pass filter too, because you don't really want this to be too in your face. It's more like a background element. And then we have an LFO on the oscillator position of oscillator 1, so it's kind of like a morphing saw wave or something like that. We've got a bit of unison, and then just some reverb, really simple. And then we have the vocals. It's just a few different vocals. I have like these two channels. This one's just got a bit of reverb, and this one is a bit of delay and reverb, and then a high pass as well, because there's like some low end stuff. But yeah, you know, it's actually pretty simple. I think the main thing to keep in mind here is just getting really good samples that do like simple stuff, like that. It's really simple, but when you put it over this chord progression, and the chord is moving in the root while it's doing that simple little vocal movement, you get a very nice harmonic thing. Same thing here. And particularly like having the vocals happen over chord changes. Like I get that holding out over the chord change there. That's what's going to make these really impactful. And also just how busy it is. You know, these are happening pretty frequently. It's not just like one little vocal. So then we got the drum groove. It always starts, whenever I do this, you always want to start with the kick and snare. Just get those grooving together. And particularly, I like to start with the kick. So this is a 909 kick. Just a nice, punchy, fat 909 right out of the drum machine. And I'm cutting a bit of the sub out of this because it does tend to have a bit of like whoop. That'll sound terrible on like club speakers or on a car. So you cut that, and it's still not fully cut out, right? It's not like this is just like no sub, but it's just cutting that out a little so that it's not going to get in the way. And then for the snare, we're using 3 layers. So we got this rim shot, this one, which you can see, like, one of those is very mid-rangey, one's very much in the high end, and then you put them together and you'll get this nice full rim shot. But then to give it something a bit more organic and to add a bit more texture and a bit more punch, I have this snare, which is cut out of a drum break. And as you can hear, it doesn't have as much punch on its own, but it has the perfect kind of punch that fits against those two. So you can see they come together and create something really nice. And then also, it's got this little hi-hat in it. So it kind of adds a bit of like rhythm to the groove as well. So then we have the main hi-hat, which is 3 layers as well. This is the next place you would want to go after you get those 4 layers sounding good. So what we're doing is it starts with this just like nice punchy hi-hat, right? And then we have this one, which is sampled out of a break. We're high passing it with the filter here. And you can see that also adds a bit of rhythm because it's got that like. And then we're layering that with a ride, which is high passed a lot. And we're only playing like this little short sample from it. But you can hear that adds like the perfect kind of sizzle high end. So we take this and then we get this. And it fills it out really well. You can hear this a lot better in the mix now. Because you're getting the and that really nice like sizzle. So at this point, we've got this. Like a really great bass groove. But then we have to add in a little bit of percussion. So I've got this tambourine, which you can hear adds a really nice groove. It fits together great with the hi-hats. And then we have these 2 drum break layers, which you can hear are kind of like call and response with each other, right? So this is like a really great way to build percussion, is taking these little chunks of drum breaks. Like if I play the original of this, it's that. We're pitching it down a little so it'll be in time. And then it's like that's the call and then the response. It's like a chunk from this drum break. And it's drum breaks you wouldn't even really think to use as like the main one. But when you take these little pieces, and particularly when you put them together like that underneath this solid groove, it adds a great little kind of movement to that. And then the last drum layer is this crazy distorted techno loop. So I'll just go from scratch here and turn each of the effects on and you'll hear what's happening. So it starts with this. It was like this techno loop I made and then I distorted it like really heavy and exported that. This was like maybe 2 years ago that I did this and I just had it and I tweaked it for this. So then I'm putting that through a little bit of hybrid reverb. Kind of gives it some space and some stereo width. And then we have a bandpass filter with this LFO. So there's 2 LFOs. The first one is this over here that's on the auto filter. You can hear going like that, right? 1/8 notes with the saw down. But then I also have this slower moving one, moving the frequency. So you're getting the plus. It's like morphing like that, right? Then we have this pedal, which is going to bring this out a lot more. And just make it like a lot more full. And then we're high passing it. And then when you put that underneath all the other percussion, it gives you that last thing you need. Just this awesome, moving sort of percussion that's not going to get in the way of everything because it's really just in the high end. And yeah. So that's it for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed. As always, make sure to like this video as well as subscribe and let me know what you think of this video in the comments. Like I said in the beginning, you can get this full template definitely go ahead and grab it for just $5. This is an insane deal. I have not heard a better Future Garage template, and I've not heard anything get this close on the market. So definitely go ahead and grab that. It really helps support me, but it's really about creating the best templates for you guys so you can make the best tracks of your life. You know, I'm really just trying to provide the community with really high quality resources so we can all elevate our production and get where we're trying to get. So help yourself out. Allow me to help you grab this template, and I promise you'll make the best track of your life. Thank you so much for the support, everybody, and I'll see you tomorrow with another video.